Hi everyone, it's Lauren Kinghorn here, Inspiring Mompreneurs, and today we are chatting to Alasen Zarndt, who is a nutrition doula. Very interesting. We've never had a nutrition doula. In fact, I've never heard of a nutrition doula before. So, Alasen, I'm very interested to know about what you do and why you do it.
You know, for a birth doula or postpartum doula, like if you're not familiar with the term doula in general, it's somebody who is there to support a mom through birth and pregnancy, and they're specifically there for mom's support, right? The world is sort of set up where there's a team of people supporting baby, you know, all these well checks and everything like that, but sometimes the mom herself actually needs a little bit more support. And so while like a birth doula is there to support the mom through the pregnancy and the birth portion of it, and postpartum is often there to help the mom, you know, around the house or whatnot right after she has the baby. I do the support via nutrition instead. So I am there to make sure that mom is not only, you know, getting enough nutrients and stuff for baby, but also to maintain her own health and wellness throughout the birth process, and so that she heals quicker postpartum and you know, eliminates all those crazy hormone swings and all that kind of stuff. So all of that can get tied back to getting the proper nutrients into you as the mom throughout that time. So that's essentially what it is all about.
So it's always postpartum. It's not being a doula for them before they have the baby as well.
No, it can be either or any, I guess. Some people find me after they've already had the baby and they are just pulling their hair out and ready to, like, you know, and we work to replenish deficiencies that may have developed over pregnancy. Some women find me as early as when they're starting their journey trying to conceive and they want to have be the healthiest they can be before. But I would think my favorite time is I tend to work with people in 6-month blocks. And so my favorite is starting around the 3rd trimester of pregnancy, and that sets you up really beautifully for the birth and really great for the first 3 months for postpartum recovery. That's my favorite time, but you know, sometimes it's very hard to catch people like, exactly, let's start your 3rd trimester. Let's give me a call, you know?
I can imagine. Yes, and it's probably not always something people know that they even need until obviously they are in need. So they're only going to really look for nutrition help when they know they need it. So just something that I remember I went through when I was pregnant was that I needed to go onto iron tablets. Is that something you could help with as a nutrition doula, or do you always have to go on iron tablets? Is there another option?
No, that's something that we can definitely work with. So so you went on the iron because of like a pregnancy developed anemia, and there's a lot of things you can do with your nutrition to help avoid that or to get supplemental iron through your food first. So if that was a situation that you were in, we would work with getting you those iron-rich foods and teaching you how to pair things together so that it's absorbed better. And then you continue to work with your actual doctor throughout the pregnancy and monitor your levels and maybe reduce or come off the supplement depending on how the dietary changes are helping out.
And I would imagine you also work a lot with people who get gestational diabetes, because that's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah. And so when a client has GD, what my role in that would be is they're working through their OB, and probably with a registered dietitian as well. And then where I come in is with helping them. So they go to an RD and they give them like a list, like eat these foods, don't eat these foods, right? And then send you on your merry way. And it's really, really hard for people to be able to remain compliant with that list and to like implement it, because they often get foods on their no list that are their staples, and they don't know how to replace them or whatnot, or there's foods on the eat these foods list that they are like, I don't even know how to cook this. I've never had it before, kind of. So, so where I would come in is helping them with the actual implementation of their plan. Like okay, I have this list of foods. How am I actually going to be eating these foods? Like, and then depending on how up to date their OB and is on GD, like some OBs are still thinking that there's nothing you can do about it. No matter what you eat, you're just going to have it and you have to go on insulin, and that's just how it is, and it's not a big deal. And no, through maybe no fault of their own, that's how like we used to train people a while ago, and it takes a really long time for the medical establishment to get caught up to date on the most recent nutrition science, because doctors are actually not trained in nutrition, which we would think that they were. You kind of make the assumption that they are, but they don't have any formal education in it. And so sometimes if a client is working with a doctor who says that, then we work together to help them change their diet, to help them either reduce or come off the insulin, again, under the care of their doctor, where they're being monitored closely and making sure that, you know, I'm not going to take on a client and be like, oh yes, you can stop your insulin tomorrow, don't listen to your doctor. That's not my role, right? It's a little bit of habit change and mindset and that type of stuff.
I hear you. So I have a book about that somewhere here behind me in my bookshelf. What your doctor doesn't know about nutritional medicine may be killing you. That one's pretty radical, obviously, but yeah. I've spoken to so many doctors over the years who just say, yes, they hardly get trained in nutrition at all. So it's not really something they can advise you on. You need to go to a nutritionist to get that advice. But obviously there's certain things that you need to go to a doctor. Once they're on medication, it's a little trickier. So now, very interesting to see that you are trained as an engineer, and I believe you worked as an engineer. So tell us a bit about that. So how does an engineer become a nutrition doula? That's a very interesting path.
Yeah, it's kind of a complete 180, right? So I originally, went to school. Growing up, I was always a science and math and all that kind of stuff. Ended up in college as an engineering and a physics major, both, because I'm a big geek and I love the science part of things. I really get into the whole, like, how do the atoms work and all that kind of stuff. So so I did that, graduated, and was working as an engineer for 14 years before I officially made the switch. And it's kind of, after I had my first, my oldest, nutrition was always sort of a hobby on the side for me, because way back in like 2001, I was diagnosed with celiac, and so you kind of had to start paying attention to it some more. And so for, as a side hobby or whatnot, I was always like interested in it and learning about it and researching and that type of thing. Then through being pregnant and having my oldest daughter, I had my own personal struggles with my postpartum body and weight and postpartum depression and anxiety and all of that. Giant mess. It was not my best moment, we'll say. And I learned through that, I was trying to get help with my weight, and there seemed to be nothing out there to be able to help me, because my particular problem was that I had a hormone condition that caused me to be severely underweight, actually. My BMI was down to like 18, 17, like wow. really, really bad. Sure. And I couldn't find anything about it, and wow. So I had to kind of rely on myself and researching and figuring things out. And I realized that what I had been eating up till that point, which is, a relatively healthy diet, is great, but it's the exact wrong thing to be eating when you're pregnant and postpartum, because our bodies are going through this phase and our hormones are so different. And, our organs are all being moved out of place for the baby as they're growing and all of this stuff. What is typically thought of as a healthy diet, which couldn't be a very healthy diet and fine for somebody to be eating regularly, can actually end up being detrimental when you are going through childbirth and all of that. So, which was just kind of a huge eye-opener. And so I'm still working full-time in engineering, but really starting to get more into the nutrition thing, and really starting to think that, man, if I had known nutrition was so interesting, 10 years ago or whatever, I might have done a different path in school, right? I was like, maybe I picked the wrong thing here. And then So from that point on, I decided to go and enroll in school for nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm full-time mom with, young toddler at this point, and decided to go back to school because I'm crazy. And I went and got integrative nutrition certification, most partly to like satisfy my own desire for understanding how all this works together, and partially because I was, pretty upset, pretty mad that this information wasn't out there for people. And I thought, well, maybe this is when the idea for the business kind of blossomed, was that, I can do something to help. I can get this information out to people. So that's what happened. And once I finished my certification, I started working with clients kind of on the side. And it got to the point in June-ish of last year where I really had to make a decision. I was like, am I going to keep doing the nutrition, or am I going to keep doing the engineering? Because I can't keep doing both. This is, starting to be too much work, and I need to be able to guard my own health and not be a workaholic and be around and all that kind of stuff. And ultimately the nutrition won out because it was something that I'm just much more passionate about,
Wow.
like engineering is great, but I was working at a power plant and taking care of machines and things like that. And I would much rather take care of like the ultimate machine, which is, the human body, versus just some inanimate stuff,
What an amazing point. Yes. Isn't it incredible what the human body is capable of?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, so am I. I've also been studying health and nutrition for many, many years. So I really hear you. So tell me, your second pregnancy, how did that go? Now that did you have all the information when you went through your second pregnancy, and were you able to use it to have a much healthier pregnancy?
When I was 7 months pregnant with my second, in part of my research and figuring out how things understood, I enrolled in a 30-day health course that was put on, and thinking that, okay, I'm just going to take this nutrition course because I need some me time. And by the time I got 7 months pregnant, I couldn't really exercise anymore. And so I was trading this course for my couple hours a week at the gym, couple hours a week doing this class, because I didn't want to give up that time. And I didn't think I was going to learn anything because I already knew a lot, but I was actually blown away. I did learn quite a few things that I implemented during that month.
Wow.
And
Great.
between 7 months pregnant and 8 months pregnant, I felt better 8 months pregnant than I had at any previous point in either pregnancy before.
Sure.
And this is August in the US, so it's like the hottest month of the year. You're 8 months pregnant, typically talking about like being in your third trimester of the summer, and everyone's miserable. And all of a sudden I was sleeping better, I had more energy. I finally had that pregnancy glow that people talked about that I thought was a complete myth because I'd never seen it before. And just the rest of it was, from the few things that I tweaked at that point, it was night and day. My last month pregnancy, the birth was easier. My breastfeeding was easier. Postpartum recovery was easier. I didn't have any of the postpartum depression or any of that I had the first time around. Didn't have the weight struggles, and I can attribute all of that to finally knowing what I was doing and what was optimal for me to be eating to heal and what was not. And that's the information that I really want to get out to people, because we were told that it's just going to be hard. You're going to have the baby blues. You're going to feel crazy. It's just your hormones. We're basically told that it's normal and to suck it up. And I want people to know that it doesn't have to be that way. You can actually feel, I'm not saying that you're going to be getting 8 hours of sleep a night and not feel tired at all, but you don't have to feel like a zombie. You don't have to feel exhausted. Like the shell of your former self when you're in the postpartum. You can actually go through it in a peaceful way. And that really starts with, does your body have the right nutrients to function correctly?
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. So now that you're working with clients, since you've been working with clients, have there been any particular stories that have stood out for you as being amazing, where you've seen someone really struggling with something and you've been able to help them just turn that around and have a much happier pregnancy.
The client who has been, a yo-yo dieter and been restricting herself to 1,200 calories a day for years, and the scale is not budging, and if not, it's going up. And suddenly, she learns how to fuel herself correctly, and she's getting to eat more food. She's not feeling hungry, and the weight's just falling off. It's those moments when things click for my clients, and they actually have those little aha moments where they just realize what's going on and can implement it, I guess is the best. And it's the changes that they make that I know are going to be permanent changes.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are the highlights for me. Those are the ones that just make me that I live for. And my favorite thing about doing this line of work is seeing that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure that is amazing. So what's interesting to me is it sounds like you're mostly dealing with women who have had overweight or weight gain after their pregnancy or during pregnancy, whereas you were struggling with underweight. So have you had any clients who had the same problem as you, underweight, during pregnancy?
I have not had specific one-on-one clients with that condition yet. I have met several other women who have been through it.
Okay.
And right now I'm actually working on getting the message out, because everything is geared towards being overweight.
Yeah.
And sort of getting the message out that, hey, the underweight thing is actually a thing and it's a problem. And it's okay if you're dealing with this, and you don't have to suffer for it alone, because there is a huge amount of shame that is put out there around having that problem. Because I know when and I'm not going to cry when I say this, but I know when I was dealing with it, and I was sick. I was weak. I couldn't get through the day. I couldn't my milk supply was tanking. I was having a horrible time. And I finally reached out just to see, please tell me somebody else has dealt with this. And the viciousness that I got back from reaching out for it was just insane. It was a bunch of comments shut up and eat a cheeseburger, stop bragging about yourself, I wish I had your problem, all this kind of stuff. And it was you would never say that to somebody who was struggling in an overweight condition, right? So body shaming one way or the other is never acceptable. And I get that we live in a culture that is glorifies being skinny and is fat phobic and all that kind of stuff. And I get that but it still makes you feel that if you are stuck in the condition that you can't even talk about it or ask for help, because all that's going to happen is you're going to get yelled at and lose friends over it, because they're going to think that you're bragging or being insensitive to their plight on the other end. So so that's sort of a new thing for this year, is being a little bit more open about what happened. And through the several other women that I've talked to who had also previously dealt with it, sort of having the courage to get out there, because I know that there's people out there who are struggling from that end of the spectrum as well. And that is there's a total void. If when people are struggling from an overweight perspective, there is an entire billion-dollar industry that's going to sell you a bunch of, whatever they want to sell you to claim that they're helping, which we can go down that road as well. I don't necessarily agree with any of that either. But the miracle of all this is what I learned from school and from specializing in hormone health, specifically in nutrition, is that the solution to my problem, where I was, I was basically wasting away, and the solution to that nagging 25, 35, 45, 50 pounds, whatever it is, and that's just not budging on the other end postpartum, is the same answer. It's actually
Wow.
eating the same way for both of us. One person has their hormones out of whack in one direction, and the other person has their hormones out of whack in this direction. And when you start eating in a way that's optimal for postpartum healing, it gets your hormones back to center, and your body naturally either releases the weight that it doesn't need or gains the weight back that it does need. So
Wow. That
that's the
is
coolest thing about
fascinating.
learning. Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that. That is really fascinating. So you were able to come back into balance by using the exact same sort of nutritional strategies that you would offer someone who is overweight. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's
Got it.
exactly right.
Wow. That is incredible. So obviously you don't want to divulge those. Would you want to give us a few tips?
Oh,
Free advice?
sure. Yeah, let's think. I'll think of my top three things for postpartum recovery.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the first one, and it's going to sound very boring, but just water
Uh-huh.
is the answer.
Yeah.
Plain water, boring old plain water.
Yeah.
And you want to be drinking enough to be hydrated. Now, we've been told, 8 glasses of water a day or whatever. And then there's a lot of stuff like, well, you actually get water from food, so that counts. And if you're drinking something, then that counts. And the message is very diluted here. But the reality of it is that water is so essential for us. You need half of your body weight in ounces of water per day just to function, just for your body to carry out its functions. And I'm talking plain water. I'm not talking water that came from your food, or I'm not talking about your coffee. In fact, if you're drinking something that's caffeinated, you need to replace those ounces with additional water ounces on top of your half, because the caffeine is a diuretic. When you're breastfeeding, it's closer to 2/3 of your body weight in water, because that additional process of producing milk and all that requires more water to run, essentially. So that would be the first, is that you're getting enough water, that you're not drinking, iced tea or like Cokes or whatever that are caffeinated all the time. And you're like, yeah, I drink 60 ounces of water a day. But if you're also having like 2 12-ounce Cokes and like an iced tea, then you're really only giving your body like 30 or 40 to work with here. So getting the optimal amount of water.
2/3 of your body weight, though? Let me just get clear on that. So 2/3 of your body weight, you've got to drink water that's 2/3 of your body weight. That sounds
so
like
150 pounds.
Yeah.
And you're just 150 pounds and living your life, and that's it. We're looking at 75 ounces a day. And if you're breastfeeding, on top of that, you're going to want to drink 100 ounces of water a day. Yeah, it's a lot, and it's a lot more than we have been taught, and a lot more than we realize. So, most everybody that I've worked with and talked to is not drinking an optimal amount of water per day. So that would be the first trick. Our second one is related to getting enough veggies in, specifically vegetables, because we eat our fruits and veggies, and we tend to lean towards the fruit side of things and not eat enough of our veggies in. So one of the superfood vegetables that is great for postpartum healing is your like leafy green vegetables. So we're talking your spinach, your beet greens, your kale, your like arugula, things along those lines are really great because they're rich sources. You have vitamin K, magnesium, and all of that. Some of them are iron rich as well, which is stuff that we need postpartum. And those, so getting enough of those in specifically, and we're talking about like 4 servings a day. A serving is 75 grams. So it's a lot of, if you get, buy your little bag of spinach here in the store for your spinach salad, kind of your baby spinach salad, that whole bag is only 2 servings, even though it's like a whole bag, because it's by weight, right? Like a 5-ounce bag is what I'm talking about, the typical one from the grocery store. But the other thing about the greens that you have to understand is that eating them raw is not going to help you. it could actually be a hindrance. You want them to be cooked, and you want them to be cooked in a good fat. And the reason is that it's easier to digest. And when you're recovering postpartum, your organs are all moving back into their right places. You don't produce the same level of digestive enzymes that you normally do because your body is healing and recovering in other places. And so making sure that they're cooked allows your body to actually break them down and use them effectively versus if they were raw. So, and then I'll do the third one real quick. It's bone broth. So bone broth or collagen, either of those or those together, because bone broth contains a lot of collagen in it. Collagen is something that we used to eat a lot of as humans, and as Western industrialization took over, we stopped eating so much of the parts of animals that contain that, and our body really needs that to grow our intestines, grow our skin, help our ligaments, all of that stuff. So we want to be getting in a lot of collagen postpartum to help with the healing as well.
Wow. And so how long would you keep up your postpartum diet? You said you like to work in 6-month sort of cycles with people. Is it about 6 months that you need to be doing that, or is it really ongoing as long as you're breastfeeding?
So it shifts a little bit, right? You want to be very, you want to be stricter with the no raw foods and eating a lot of bone broth and all that stuff in the first, from immediately postpartum to the first, 30 to 60 days postpartum. You want to make sure that we're in there. And then as you get a little further out, if you have already taken care of yourself that way the first 60 days, you can kind of start adding back in some of your other foods, and then you transition to a diet that's optimal for breastfeeding, which is not exactly the same as your postpartum healing diet. If you didn't do this postpartum, and so you just kind of powered through and whatnot, up to 3 years after it, you can still be dealing with the effects, or some people deal with the effects of the nutrient deficiencies perpetually. And so depending on where you are in the spectrum with that, you might want to switch to it for a little while to help replenish the nutrient deficiencies and then switch back.
Okay. Wow. So I didn't know any of those tips, by the way. Those are really amazing. I didn't even know there was a specific postpartum diet we should be following. But let's talk about the business side, Alasen. So tell me about your business and what do you see happening in the year coming up for you? You're obviously seeing clients on a day-to-day basis. Are you doing other things like putting together signature courses?
So for this year, so I'll caveat this, I was an engineer, not a business major. I went to school for nutrition, also not a business school. And so I got to spend the last year sort of drinking from the fire hose for learning how to run a business, right? This was all information that I was just completely clueless on, and I'm still progressing in. I couldn't even begin to talk to you about the volume of stuff that I've learned over the last year for how to run your online business and the tech side of things, back end side of things. So that's been kind of amazing. And so this year I'm still going to be, working on that skill. But to answer your question about the course, I am just starting out with it's a group coaching class. So if it's something that somebody is not necessarily ready for the one-on-one kind of more intense change, then this is a perfect starting point. The class, it's called 8 Weeks to Wellness. It's an 8-week long class, and we go over basically our nutrition basics. I wanted to make sure that we start off and give you the knowledge that you need to be able to make good choices for yourself and for your family. So I spend the first part of the class sort of going through a bunch of the myths and misconceptions that we have about what good nutrition is and what poor nutrition is. So I teach, what the water is. I teach about the vegetables, carbs. That's a big one. Do we need them? Do we not need them? Are carbs evil? That's out there. Good sources of protein. And fats, and you kind of get this information So that way, when you are out in the store or in the world, you can filter out all of the media hype and all of the sales hype for stuff and pick foods that are actually healthy for you and your family, right? So we start with that, and then through the rest of the 8 weeks, we practice those nutritional foundations. And each week we go through one sort of lifestyle hack to help make this something that by the time you get through the course, it's something that you're implementing consistently in your life. Okay. So help you with how to cook more at home, especially if you're time crunched. That's one of my expertise, is getting dinner on the table between 30 minutes when I get home to when dinner is ready to eat. So try to make dinner faster than fast food for people. I have several recipes that will do that. We work on, how do I avoid snacking? How do I avoid getting, through the drive-through? How do I get my kids on board? Things along those lines.
Yeah.
And so you get kind of those tips. We do one lesson a week after the first week with that. And what it really gives you, this class, is the confidence that you're making the right choices, and the mindset and habits that you need to be able to remain consistent with your choices, so that eating well is just how you eat. It's not something that you actually have to think about. It's not something that is taking up a whole lot of your time. And we want to get you to the place where eating well is easier than eating poorly. Wow. And so that's kind of what we go over for the 8 weeks. I love it that it's in a group environment, because a lot of the ladies talk to each other, and we get tips and tricks. Somebody tries this out, helps somebody out over here. So generally the groups are really amazing. The people who participate are awesome. And so that's the class that we're doing for 2020. I think my next one's going to be coming up in the spring, towards the beginning of March.
Oh,
and so,
okay.
If you're interested, jump on the email list or the Facebook page or something, and get your notification for when it's out.
Okay, so I'll definitely add those details to the post as well, so that people know how to get onto your list. You can give me whatever details you need for people to be added to that list. That'll be great. And okay, so that would be, the 8 weeks to wellness is going to be for anybody, not necessarily postpartum or not necessarily pregnant women or breastfeeding women. It's for anybody. Am I right?
It's for moms in general.
Moms. Okay.
Yeah. And so I typically work one-on-one with clients who have kids up to the age of 5. So I'm mostly specialized with the, early toddler or whatnot, but the course itself is something that you would be able to take and implement and be helpful for you, even if you're a mom of teenagers, or still dealing with that type of crazy working full-time and balancing the kids and all that kind of stuff lifestyle. So it's definitely suitable for a broader range. We do talk about breastfeeding nutrition in the class and whatnot, because that's, a lot of people who are taking it are still in those phases. Yeah. But yes.
It also sounds like it would be really good for somebody who isn't even pregnant yet, but is looking to get pregnant and needs to know this stuff. Because I must say that I found, when I just had my child and I was breastfeeding him, I didn't have time for anything else. I wouldn't have been able to take on, I don't think I would have been able to take on this course. I literally just spent my days breastfeeding him and, and doing a few not play dates at that stage, but just, hookups with moms who also were looking after their little babies, and there was not much else going on in my life, and I didn't feel like I could take on anything except be a mom at that moment.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to have had this knowledge. I thought the best time, I was really ripe for the knowledge when I was pregnant. That's when I went on an amazing course where I learned about breastfeeding, and I learned what I needed to know to be able to continue and sustain breastfeeding for the long term. We went full term.
Right.
So that was really helpful to me. So I was kind of really into getting knowledge before I had the child, but after I was kind of because there was no time.
Yeah,
I don't know,
and
maybe I'm the only mom who feels like that.
no, you're not. You're not the only mom. So two things for that. Like first, absolutely. If you are, getting ready to try to conceive or like actually in pregnancy or whatever, then this would be, it's a great time to be able to like learn this stuff and start implementing the habits because you have practice for after baby is here. In the future, I'm hoping to have like a bunch of little like self-paced modules for, this is prior to pregnancy, this is the first and second trimester, third and fourth trimester, and let people take those, as they want, but that's a project for down the line. But for the moms who are there right now and they're like, I couldn't possibly take on another thing. I get it. I was there, like you were there, you understand, right? And so I have made sure that this is not something that is going to take a ton of your time. The lessons, the actual the first week you get 5 lessons in a row every day, and you probably need about 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes a day to read through the lessons and watch the video that's associated with it. So the first week is a little bit more stuff, but it's because I want to front load you with the information. Each week after that, the lesson, the assignment for the week takes mom time, a minimal amount of time. Basically, you have your lesson, which the videos are anywhere from like 4 or 5 minutes to 10 minutes long.
Oh, lovely.
So
okay.
it's something that you can watch from your phone while you're feeding the baby, right?
Yeah.
Is what I was thinking of.
I did a lot of that actually.
And then
yeah.
Right. And then the tasks for you to work on are things that you can do as part of your regular activities. Like, we'll have an assignment for the grocery store and I want you to look for, one thing to swap out or whatnot. So that's something that you can do in the things that you're already working with on a day-to-day basis. So it's specifically designed not to be this giant shift. Because when we are caring for like a little baby and you're already overwhelmed and your to-do list is 10 miles too long, you don't want to add another thing to the to-do list. And so this is designed so that it's shortening your to-do list in the long run, not adding to it.
Okay, that's awesome. So, and it's really in a digestible format so that you're not, it's not too much to take on. That sounds amazing, Alasen. And I think it's amazing that you've taken a year to really get the whole technical side, because it's not easy. I've been doing an online business for nearly 4 years. I'm not an engineer and I'm only now getting started with my online courses. It's been something always there where I felt like I really want to get a course going. I really want to set up a course, and I didn't just go and do it. It's partly plucking up the courage, I think. Who did you learn with, and which platform did you choose for your course as a matter of interest?
Well, the learning actually is from my USA job as an engineer. I spent several years in my previous career as an instructor. So it was my job to train all the engineers at the company that I worked with. And so I learned a lot about, all that course development and adult learning and everything during that time. So developing courses that are specifically tailored to, adults to actually get something out of that is, something that I've been highly trained in through my old job.
Fantastic.
And as for the platform right now, I am still trying to figure out what I want to use permanently for the members area. I've tried delivering the content in all the videos are up on YouTube, unlisted videos on there, and delivering the content in Facebook groups. The Facebook group is really integral to the course because that's where you're getting your support and your one-on-one and your accountability and all of that is critical to being able to be successful. But for a members area, I tried a members area on ClickFunnels most recently, and that was like, it was okay. I'm looking into my website's WordPress site, so I'm looking into like some of the WordPress plugins and the pros and cons on those. So I haven't selected something yet for the delivery. Right now, it's really a timeline in an Excel sheet with the video and the documents kind of linked to each of the days in the calendar for it.
Well, there are some amazing platforms that can really help you. I mean, I've been looking into them for a long time. Certainly the people I follow quite a number of amazing women online, and a lot of them have gone with Teachable. I don't know if you've come across Teachable yet as a platform.
I have looked at that one. I think they do have like a plugin for WordPress.
Yeah, so Teachable, you can host the whole thing on Teachable, which is amazing. And I think that they have, if I'm not mistaken, a way to create a membership site that is inbuilt. I was watching a training the other day by Gillian Perkins. So, and I think she mentioned that you could create a membership site via Teachable as well. And then Thinkific is another good one. So Thinkific. Yeah. And that Sunny Lenarduzzi was talking about that she found that Thinkific had everything that she needed to create her courses, and she's a really big YouTuber as well. So those two are really big YouTubers who have started their online courses, and they went with two different options that I've been looking at. So that was interesting to me. But I'm going to start out on much smaller on Skillshare and Udemy, which are not the same kind of platforms where you're going to be able to create your own membership site. You don't have the same control over everything that is done on Udemy and Skillshare. It's basically you just put your course up there, but the benefit is that you get access to a huge number of people. So it's a great idea to just even put up a mini course there to kind of entice people to come to your bigger course and join your membership site. You know, it's a good platform to get started on. Yeah, those are the 4 that I've been looking at. So if you have like a small course, you know, that you want to put together that will just get people interested, because I mean, on Skillshare you can put a course that's only an hour long. So you have, you know, and it's in 5-minute sessions. So you just like little 5-minute videos, and you make up an hour of video. I mean, that's easy to do. That's quick and easy to get going, little bite sizes. And yeah, you can pop that up. And in fact, the interesting thing is on Udemy and Skillshare, you can actually put up the same course. And because their rules are not that you have to, you know, that it's exclusive to them. It's just their rule is that you cannot have this course available freely on YouTube and then you sell it on Skillshare, but you're allowed to sell it on more than one platform. So that's also very interesting. Yeah. So, but I know you have a lot, you just have a lot more control over the things you can do in creating your own membership site and creating your own real brand. If you really want a long-term solution, you need to go with something like Thinkific or Teachable. And there are others. I mean, yeah, I could give you a list of 10, but I can't remember them off the top of my head because I'm giving you my favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's in the research phase for, like, I think membership area is the next step for me. Because when I've done it in small groups over the last year, it's been you know, email drip essentially, where they get the lesson and and then the links to the unlisted videos. But so yeah, that's, you know, again, the tech side of things, the back end tech side of things is like, okay, this is where I'm doing most of my growth right now in the entrepreneur space, is learning how those work and what's going to be optimal for me to do and all of that. So using a platform
like that, it is a lot easier than trying to do it all yourself. That's what I've heard. I mean, I know with an engineering brain, you want to do it all yourself because you know you can create an amazing system, but sometimes it's easier to just slot into someone else's system where they already understand everything, and you'll still be able to create your own system one day. I'm sure you will,
right?
Because you have that incredible. I've always thought that engineers have a brain, the way your brain works is like completely different to any other kind of person. You have to be really amazingly intelligent to be an engineer, because it's just a different way of thinking where you see how all things fit together, and you're able to, that's why you can study anything and make a go of anything. Because it's just how you think.
Yeah, we kind of a special breed.
Yeah, I really believe so.
Mhm.
So yeah, but those platforms can really help you just cut your time and just get in there and create your course and create your membership site really easily. Yeah, that's what I've heard from people who've
Mhm.
tried to do it themselves and created their own system and then go out and find, oh, this is so much easier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it definitely has an appeal
yeah.
to getting it off the ground there. So
Yeah, yeah, but it sounds like you've got this, and it's really all already happening for you.
yeah,
Amazing.
I mean, one of the things that I like geek out about a little bit with my website being the WordPress site and the plugins is that, and maybe this is like a very old school way of thinking, like 90s internet way of thinking, but okay, I have the website and I have the hosting space
Mm-hmm.
and the backup and everything there. And so, um, you know, there's all these things, tools out there to build landing pages. You have like your ClickFunnels, you have your landing pages in your email um, server and all that as well. And I was always wondering to myself, like, I have a website. Why do I need these other things to make web pages? I can make web pages like on my
Yeah.
site. I don't get it. And so I was using them for a while. And towards the end of last year, I have been experimenting with moving all my landing pages off of ClickFunnels and all my funnels over to my actual site
Yeah.
on WordPress. So I have started
Engineer.
to, yeah, move it all over. I'm like, why am I, it's great.
Paying all that money to
They have,
ClickFunnels.
right? So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's ultimately where I would want to go with the members. And I need a plugin. I need a landing page plugin to add onto WordPress so I can do the drag and drop and, build it like to look like
Yeah.
a funnel.
Do
But
you use
yeah, I'm finding,
yeah, or do you use just your normal free WordPress themes, or have you tried something like Divi by Elegant Themes?
um, oh geez, I think the Divi is so I started off with the free theme because
Mm-hmm.
when I started the website out back in 2017, it was just the free site, which was the Dara theme, and I think that's the free version of the Divi theme actually.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I kind of fell into that
Yeah.
already, and so I'm still on the same theme because
Okay.
I like the colors and all that kind of superficial stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but from a business side, a branding side, this year I hope to be growing enough that I can contract out and get the site to look the way that I want it, and help work with somebody who is a branding specialist to help with getting it all to kind of look more seamless
Yeah.
down the road. So that's a 2020 goal, I guess, is to start generating enough with the business to be able to you know hire on the experts for that versus just trying to do it as a one-person show.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's the goal we're all going for. I agree with you. To go from that, and that's one of the big things in being an entrepreneur, because you're a solo entrepreneur or solopreneur for quite a while before you can start hiring someone generally. And it's deciding when to take that leap, isn't it? It's quite a leap
Mm-hmm.
of faith to hire
Exactly.
someone, especially when you could pretty much, like you are a super achiever, you could pretty much do it better. They are specialists in each of their fields who can come in and help you, and with every part of the journey. It's amazing. I'm only just dipping my toe into that water, and again, I'm 4 years down the track, so I'm just I
Yeah.
have a content writer now who writes some of my content. That's great, and she's awesome. She can do in an hour what takes me 4 hours to do. I just take ages
Oh
to
my
write
gosh, that's
content and
amazing.
research it. Yeah, I know, it's amazing, and you don't realize these people exist until you
Yeah.
hire them. And they do a better job than me. It freaks me out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a big thing to start letting go
Well,
of those pieces.
that's one of the big early on lessons that I learned
Yeah.
in the business world was last year I was I was actually working on this online course in January last year, trying to launch it in January. And I went my first round, and long story short is I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know the difference between a boosted post and a Facebook ad. Like, I didn't understand like no clue. And so I got like some help from some friends about like the ads and whatnot, drove quite a bit of traffic to the site landing page that I had created, which was, again, just like a page on my website that didn't look like a landing page at all. It looked like a blog post because I was, stuck with the theme. And I didn't get any sales, and found out, a friend of mine called like the Thursday before the class was supposed to start on Saturday. So less than 48 hours before it was supposed to start. And she said, I'm trying to sign up for your class, but the payment button's broken. Oh. And so I had been building all this stuff, right? I'm not like a website builder. I'm not a coder. And I broke the payment button, and it was consuming my life at that point. And so I was like, I need a marketing people, because I don't know how to do any of this marketing stuff. So I just jumped on and hired somebody for marketing.
Awesome.
But the lesson that I learned there, so I jumped to hiring before I understood enough about it to be able to hire well.
Yes.
And so that was a very, that was my biggest lesson, I think, of the year last year, was that outsourcing is amazing, and we should be doing it as soon as we possibly can. Yeah. I'm fully on board with that. But, and the big but, is that you as the entrepreneur need to learn enough about it to be able to hire out
Huge
well.
Lesson. Huge lesson.
And so that's where I am at this point, is that I, like for the branding, for example, that I plan on hiring out, like I've learned some of the free stuff that's out there about that. Like, I'm learning more about it. And then the person who I'm considering hiring for it, like, I realize that, like, this is going to actually be a good choice, something that's going to be a good fit for me and my business, because like you said with your content writer, like, you can make your content, enough about creating content and your audience and everything, that you can see that the person that you hired out, they're more skilled than you. That's why they're a content producer and not like a podcaster, right? But you still have enough background in content creation and all of that to be able to say, yes, they're doing a good job, right? Yeah. Or you can even evaluate that, yes, they do a better job than me, and that's why I love having them. And so that's kind of that's my big lesson for you guys who are starting out, like just dipping your feet into this kind of thing, is take the time to learn about it enough, so that way when you do decide to expand or hire out or get something off of your plate, that you are making an educated choice. Because I can frankly say that I did not do that, and it was kind of a like I said, a learning experience in the long run. True.
And I remember one of the things that Henry Ford said, if you're going to hire somebody, always hire somebody who you believe is better than you at that particular job. So you always want to hire people who are brilliant at what they do, because that's going to take your business forward. So is there any other advice you'd like to give someone who is needing your services? Is there any advice you'd like to give?
Well, aside from the tips and tricks from
those were great.
So as new moms with young kids, or even moms like with older kids at this point, there is this thing going around like self-care, right? You got to take care of yourself if you're going to be the best mom for your family, if you're going to show up as the best employee, if you're going to be the best wife, right? Yeah. And while there is truth in that message, it's been twisted, I think, into another thing on our to-do list, right? Yeah. Like, okay, you got to do the self-care, and you got to care for everybody else, and you got to care for yourself. And so a lot of it is like, it kind of rubs you the wrong way. You're like, oh yeah, let me go ahead and schedule 2 hours for my massage on top of all of this other stuff that I need to do. Like, that's not relaxing for me. I'm just going to be sitting there in the chair, like worried about everything else that I have going on, right? But then you're made to feel guilty because you're not doing the self-care, right? And this is where I'm really passionate about the nutrition side of things, because fueling your body with the nutrients that you actually need for it to function is ultimate self-care, right? And it's self-care in a way that is not adding to your list. You have to eat.
Yeah.
We can't go for days without eating. It's just not possible. You are going to eat at some point during the day, or at least at some point during the next day if you're fasting for the whole day. Or sometimes, you know, when things get crazy and moms are like, I haven't had anything to eat today and it's 4:00, right? Okay, but at some point you're going to have to stop and eat, right? And so if we make sure that the things that we're eating are things that fuel us and nourish us and replenish us, then we're getting all of that self-care stuff that is going to allow you to show up as your best self. When you're fueling your body with the right nutrition, you are getting better sleep. You are not as stressed out. Your hormones are more balanced. All of those things are happening through an act that you have to do. You can't just not do it. It's not like a shower where you can skip it during the day, right? Which showers are self-care. So I really want people to understand that that their nutrition overall is not just an afterthought. And in fact, it's the thing that you can change that is going to have a ripple effect and make everything across the board easier for you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that one small component of your life that you have a lot of control over, and that getting it right is going to be a domino effect for everything else.
Wow.
And just allowing you to show up as a better person without having to put 2 hours on the schedule for a massage.
Yeah, that is really, really good advice. Thank you for that. And what's your message to the world? What is that your message, or is there another message?
To the world?
Yeah.
I would
What do you want to tell us?
Take care of moms.
Okay, that's a good one.
Stop making us into these Madonna goddesses who have everything under control. We're human too, and we deserve to be treated well by the rest of you. You know, we deserve to have, especially in the US, I'm like, you probably know about how, medieval our maternity policies are and all of that. Like, it really is frustrating that there's this whole, huge portion of our society that we just run under the bus consistently.
Okay.
Moms, especially new moms, they're born that day too. Okay, so my advice to the world in general is that we need to take care of new moms, right? That is a huge void, I feel like, in society in general, especially here in the US, where we're expected to, bounce back in 2 weeks, and we have no maternity leave and any of that type of stuff. There is this, belief out there that moms, can do anything, and that they don't need any help, and that they have it all handled and have it all together. And we often project that to the world as well. And believe me, I think that women are completely powerful and can do anything. But at the same time, we need care for ourselves as well. And so if the message to the world is that if you do know somebody who's recently had a baby, or who, has kids, 2 kids under the age of 2 or something along that line, and maybe she looks like she has it all together, still take the time to go and care for her, bring her some coffee, go help with the grocery shopping, anything like that, to, sort of care for us, because we naturally, humans are people who live in a community state, right? Where there is a close-knit group around us that can all care for one person or the other. And now we're kind of in a place where we're very isolated. And that sense of community is something that I really want to bring back for moms in general.
It takes a village. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And mom needs the village too. It's not just the baby who needs the village.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exactly why we need the village for the mom. I have discovered that for myself as well. You are so right. And Alasen, what's next for you, for Alasen Zarndt? Are you going to be writing a book? I think there's a book in you, or maybe 5.
That's on the 3 to 5 year plan.
Yay. Okay.
So, but yeah, this year is, I'm currently taking on a couple more one-on-one clients. So if anything during the podcast resonated with you, like go ahead and reach out and we can set up a time to chat ourselves. That part is, initially like no obligation or cost to you. It's just to see if we're a good fit. So, currently taking on a few more of those this year. And then from here on out, it's, like I was talking about getting that group course off the ground.
Yep.
And eventually I want to be able to, my goal for this year is to be able to work with, in some capacity, either through the group training or one-on-one, work with 100 women this year to really regain their health, regain their mental health, and all of that. And I'm super excited to be working towards that goal.
That is amazing. I found that when you have those kind of goals, they can really snowball, and 100 can become 1,000 really quickly. So I'm really excited for you. And I'm sure you're going to really go out there and change people's lives. And I do hope that those people who are underweight are watching this as well. I really think that we need to, really target that market, because you've been through that and you really know, what it felt like. And, especially what it felt like when you put that post up. I'm guessing it was on Facebook, where you got lambasted by everybody.
Yeah, I got blasted by the mom group.
Yeah, Facebook is not my favorite place to put that kind of stuff, I have to say. I've always been nervous of it, because it just is a place where people seem to think that they can say whatever they like and, tread all over people. Not very nice. Yeah, so I do think that there is a massive market out there for you, of people who have been through what you've been through and would really be touched by your story. So yeah, you can help those skinny moms who have gone through that same feeling. And felt, the pain of being underweight and the illness that can come from that. I mean, it's massive.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. And dehydrated. Wow. I mean, sure. The whole first year, I think I felt dehydrated.
Yeah. Well, my website is yournutritiondoula.com, and there's a contact section on there. So that's one way to grab my email, or email it directly. It's Alasen@yournutritiondoula.com. And you spell my name Alasen, so it's a little different, which is why I hesitate to speak out my email, because people, like, the spelling is awkward. You can always find the Nutrition Doula on Facebook. It's a business page on Facebook. Contact me through there. And probably one of the easiest ways to get a hold of me is I have a Facebook group. It's called New Mom Society, and we can get like a link to that group for the show notes for this. And just, come on over to the group, make a post, say hi, and we'll go.
Send me those links, and I'll make sure everybody gets them as well. Thank you so much, Alasen.
You're welcome.
It's been awesome.